Ever wondered what all those settings on your DSLR mean? Welcome to a journey that will turn those cryptic symbols into your best friends in photography. Today, we're going to unravel the mystery behind camera modes, giving you the power to capture the world just as you envision it. Understanding your camera's modes is like learning to speak its language. It's the key to taking control and getting the results you want. You'll be surprised how much creative freedom lies hidden within these modes, ready to be unleashed. In this video, we'll be exploring 5 major camera modes: auto, program, shutter priority, aperture priority, and manual. Each one has its unique strengths and ideal situations where they shine the brightest. We'll walk through when and why to use each mode, using practical examples to illustrate their impact on your photographs. Now that we've set the stage, let's dive into our first mode. Auto mode, your camera's default setting. And here's why. Auto mode is essentially the point and shoot mode of your camera. It's where the camera makes all the decisions for you, regarding aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. It's perfect when you're just starting out, or when you want to capture a moment quickly without fussing over settings. However, it's not without its limitations. While it's great for getting a decent shot in most situations, it doesn't always give you the best result. For instance, it might not capture the depth or motion in a scene the way you envision it. Plus, relying solely on auto mode can limit your growth as a photographer. It doesn't challenge you to understand and experiment with different settings, which is key to mastering photography. While auto mode is convenient, it doesn't give you much control. So let's explore some other options. Meet program mode, a step up from auto. This mode is like your best friend who gives you advice, but also respects your decisions. Program mode automatically sets the shutter speed and aperture for you, but it's not as rigid as auto mode. It allows you to adjust these settings if you're not happy with what it suggests. Think of program mode as a balancing act between the shutter speed and aperture. When you adjust one, the camera automatically compensates by adjusting the other to maintain the correct exposure. It's a fantastic option when you're in a hurry or dealing with changing light conditions. However, just like everything in life, program mode has its limitations. It doesn't always get the depth of field or motion blur effects right, but don't fret. It's a stepping stone to understanding how shutter speed and aperture work together. Program mode offers more control than auto, but there's still more to explore. So keep your camera close, and let's dive deeper into the world of photography. Shutter priority and aperture priority modes, 2 sides of the same coin. Let's start with shutter priority mode, often denoted as S or TV on your camera dial. In this mode, you choose the shutter speed, and the camera automatically sets the aperture to ensure a balanced exposure. Shutter priority is particularly useful when capturing motion. For fast-moving subjects like a hummingbird in flight, a high shutter speed freezes the action, delivering a crisp, clear image. On the other hand, a slow shutter speed blurs motion, creating a sense of movement, ideal for shooting a cascading waterfall or a bustling cityscape at night. However, be aware that in low light conditions, your camera might select a wide aperture, potentially reducing the sharpness of your image, especially at the edges. So it's a balancing act. Now let's flip the coin and delve into aperture priority mode, typically marked as A or AV. Here you're in charge of setting the aperture, and your camera adjusts the shutter speed accordingly. The aperture determines the depth of field, impacting how much of your shot is in focus. A wide aperture, say f1.8, creates a shallow depth of field, making your subject sharp while the background blurs beautifully, perfect for portraits. A narrow aperture like f16 keeps both the foreground and background in focus, ideal for landscape photography. One caveat though, in low-light situations, your camera may choose a slow shutter speed, potentially causing blur if you or your subject move. A tripod can be a handy tool in such scenarios. Shutter priority and aperture priority modes are remarkably user-friendly, giving you control over one aspect of exposure while the camera handles the rest. They allow you to emphasize motion or depth of field in your images, depending on what you want to highlight. Nevertheless, they're not without their limitations, particularly in challenging lighting conditions. These modes offer more control over your camera's exposure, but for the ultimate control, we turn to manual mode. Manual mode, the pinnacle of control over your DSLR. This mode is where you, as the photographer, take the reins. You're in charge of deciding both the shutter speed and the aperture, giving you the utmost control over how your photograph turns out. Manual mode is best used when you want to manipulate light in creative ways, or when you're dealing with tricky lighting situations that automated modes can't quite nail. However, with great power comes great responsibility. Manual mode requires a solid understanding of both aperture and shutter speed, and how they interact with one another. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's for those who are ready to delve deeper into the art of photography and take their skills to the next level. But don't be discouraged. With practice, you'll start to see the world through a new lens, literally and figuratively. Mastering manual mode might be challenging, but it's well worth the effort. So we've covered all the basic camera modes, but remember, the best mode is the one that suits your needs. With that in mind, here's a quick recap. Auto mode, the go-to for beginners, makes all the decisions for you. It's convenient, yes, but it doesn't allow for much creativity. Program mode gives you a bit more control, letting you adjust the ISO while the camera handles aperture and shutter speed. Shutter priority and aperture priority modes allow even greater control. The former lets you dictate the shutter speed to capture movement as you wish, while the latter gives you the reins over depth of field. Finally, manual mode, the holy grail of customization, puts all the settings at your fingertips, allowing you to capture your vision exactly as you see it. So don't be afraid to experiment with these modes. Try them out, see what works best for you. Keep practicing, keep experimenting, and you'll find the perfect mode for every shot.